2020年4月14日、バーノン・ジョーンズはジョージア州選出の民主党として初めて、ドナルド・トランプ大統領の再選を支持しました。トランプを推薦することで、民主党の同僚やリベラルメディアから多くの批判を受けて、全米で大きな反響を受けました。ジョーンズは2021年に民主党から共和党にくら替えしました。ジョーンズは1993年から2001年、2017年から2021年までジョージア州下院議員を務めました。トランプ氏を支持することで、トランプ氏本人とも信頼関係を築けて、アメリカ保守派で大人気となりました。弊団体のアエバ議長は、オーストラリアでジョーンズ氏にインタビューをしました。トランプ氏に対する起訴、バイデンの汚職などについて語っていただきました。ご覧ください。
Jay, and I've said it many times, I was born and reared in the South, in America, North Carolina. My family were farmers. My dad was military, so we were very patriotic. Even when he was in World War II, when he wasn't respected among white soldiers, even when he came back home, there were places where he couldn't go, public places where he couldn't go. He couldn't drink from certain water fountains. He had to sit at the back of the bus or the train. But in spite of that, he never complained. He said that this was the greatest country on earth, that we have freedoms here that a lot of countries do not have. So in spite of Jim Crow and not being able to vote, he never, ever rebelled against his country. He disagreed with his country, but we were raised to acknowledge and value and appreciate our freedom, especially those that he fought for. My parents had very limited education. They had gone no farther than the third grade. They were sharecroppers. Even among their siblings, their families, they took turns on who was going to go to school that day and who wasn't going to go to school to stay at home and work. And so that was another thing my parents want us to have. They want us to have an education because they knew it would make a difference in our lives, but also our faith, being Christians. They always say if you pray hard and you work hard, things will develop for you. You would go far in life and treat people like you want to be treated. And I said earlier too, for your viewers, my parents always told us to stand up for what we believe in and don't let anyone else tell us or change our beliefs. If you believe in something, that's your beliefs. Now they didn't say don't listen what others have to say, listen to their views, because you can learn something too. But I was raised on those hardcore conservative values, and I grew up voting Democrat. My family were Democrats because they were conservatives. There was an emphasis on having two parents in the home. There was an emphasis on studying hard and working hard. There was an emphasis on family taking care of family, and that the government can't be all for everybody, stand alone. If you want to be an entrepreneur in America, you can be an entrepreneur. If you want to be a school teacher in America, you can be a school teacher. And so they just taught us that we could be whatever we want to be. Not that we wouldn't have hardships, not that we wouldn't have hard roads to travel, but if we just stuck to our beliefs and worked hard, we'd get there. When I got elected to the legislature, the House of Representatives, the Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And I saw the 8-year period where Democrats started to shift some. And I saw more and more Republicans start to get elected. I saw more and more white Democrats join the Republican Party. There were no African Americans in the Republican Party when I was in the legislature. So I did 8 years there, and I got elected to county mayor. And I served there for 8 years, where I managed about 8,000 employees, had about a $5 billion budget. I was responsible for police, fire, infrastructure, airport, etc. So I had experience in running a government. Now, after 8 years there, I sat out for 8 years. I went back to the legislature some 16 years later, and it had flipped. Republicans were in the majority of the House, majority of the Senate, the governor's office, lieutenant governor's office. And I'm coming back as a Democrat, and I was lost. when I saw my peers and the issues that they were pushing, the Democrats were pushing, I'm like, wait a minute. This is not the Democratic Party that I grew up with. This is not the Democratic Party that plays values on families. This is not the Democratic Party that supported law enforcement. This is not the Democratic Party that supported entrepreneurship where we reward those who worked hard. This is a party now that has the hint of socialism. They want to penalize you for being successful. They start to lose the nuclear of the family, mother and father, in the same home. They started pushing issues transgender. I don't hate transgender people, but I'm not going to let them force me to believe that just because you're a male and you call yourself a female, now that men can have babies. It's not true. And if you don't think there's a difference between a male and a female, well, try to milk a bull. You'll see there's a difference. And so not only that, I saw where they wanted you to be dependent on the government. And welfare hurt the African-American community. In the 60s, before welfare was prominent, most African-American households had mother and father, 72%. Now, 72% has one parent. And what the government did, the government rewarded the mother, the single mother. The father couldn't live in the housing that they put him in. And then, if they went to jail, the government all of a sudden is housing them, warehousing them. And so the government became black children's father. They were giving them a check every month to the mother. They were responsible for the housing. They were taking care of them in jail. So you removed and destroyed the nuclear of the family, and certainly the black family. So I saw the Democrats, if you exercise an independence, certainly if you were African American and you voted for someone or another party, how dare you? Aren't you black? Aren't you black? So they had taken the black vote for granted so long until we didn't identify with this. And so when President Trump came along, I was back in the legislature. I heard from Joe Biden, his platform. I had known him since he'd been in office for the most part. He didn't do anything. Matter of fact, he passed a crime bill that literally destroyed a whole generation of black men with the mandatory sentences. He authored that bill. And then I saw Donald Trump, who went to an African-American church and said, what do you have to lose? The Democrats have been taking you for granted. I want to help you get a job if you want to get a job. I want to help you start a business if you want to start a business. And by the way, I want to help promote the nuclear of the family, mother and father in the same home. So he had experience in commerce. He had experience in dealing in international affairs. And so when I came out to support Donald Trump as a Democrat, oh my God, I became the biggest target there was nationally. The Democratic Party with racial epithets, just even my colleagues stopped speaking to me. And I'm like, what is this? Because I exercise my own independent thought. And that's when I knew, Jay, that's when I knew the Democratic Party had this plantation. And if you weren't a part of that plantation, they were going to target you, and they were going to get others to come and attack you, to whip you, to get you back on that plantation, to get you back in line. And let me tell you, I gave them the key to that suite, and I said, you can have this damn plantation. I can think for myself. And so after that, I supported Donald Trump, and I did the right thing. And January the 6th of 2021 is when I said, okay, I was in Washington, D.C., and I saw a peaceful, where I was, President Trump did not excite any violence. It was a mile away from the Capitol. He addressed everyone. And I'm like, yes, I want to see him get reelected. And yes, there are some questions about this election. And when I saw the liberal media, and I saw Democrats, and I saw the weaponization of federal agencies that had spied on a president-elect, that had spied on Americans, they had become weaponized. I'm like, what is going on? You can't question the elections now. And so that day, I changed parties that day on the stage. I said, you know what? I want to go back home to the grand old party, the party of new ideas, the grand party, the party of recognizing our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, and our Constitution. And so it was a no-brainer after that. And I'm much more comfortable wearing the Republican jersey. Well, we're still Southerners, and we're still kind people. We're still, hospitable. We don't have to know your name to say hello to you, anything like that. But the big divide has come between the left that has gone so far woke that if you don't line up with their ideas, if you don't support their political ideology or you're with their party affiliation, they come out and physically and verbally attack you. And you have, like what President Trump is happening now, former President Trump, you have local law enforcement district attorneys, because they're Democrats, they're all trying to stop President Trump from the local level to the state level to the federal level. They are afraid of him because he's unbought, he's unbossed, he wants to make America great again. He has his first 4 years. He wants to finish the job. But having been a president that was a target of the deep state, they are very afraid of him coming back and unraveling and pulling the sheet off of the corruption that is seeped into our federal agencies. And the liberal media, who played a major role in this, they don't want him to come back because they want to keep shaping the narrative. And they have an agenda that's in line with the left. And it's not good for Georgia, it's not good for America. Well, you're absolutely right. The president has gone through 4 different indictments from 4 different agencies, some 91 charges. That is un-American. We've never seen anything like this. This is all new, where Joe Biden has a mountain of evidence against him in terms of corruption, and his son and his family, the Biden family syndicate. He too had unclassified documents, which only a president can declassify classified documents. But Joe Biden had classified documents going back when he was a U.S. senator and vice president and kept it in his garage. But nothing has come of that. There are millions of dollars coming from Ukraine, from China, from Romania, in all of these different bank accounts, these fake accounts from Hunter Biden. And then you saw the Justice Department work with Hunter Biden's lawyers to come up with a sweetheart deal that would just give him, a slap on the hand. Luckily, the judge saw it and said, wait a minute, this is unprecedented. There's a dead cat on the end of this line. And it fell apart. But Russia was a hoax. Hillary Clinton started the whole lie. And what's interesting, John Brennan, our CIA director, went to President Obama's office while he was president and briefed him, and briefed Joe Biden, who was a vice president, and briefed the FBI that Hillary Clinton had this plot and this plan, and they were going to feed it to the media. And all that time that the president was accused of Russia collusion, they knew it was a lie. And so, so much has happened. President Trump is a unique person. You can't control him. You can't buy him. And he doesn't care if you're Democrat or Republican. He is going to fight for the average American citizen. And that's why he's so popular among many. And that's why even with these indictments, they're still afraid he's going to win the election. And it is highly possible. His numbers, the more they indict him, the more popular he gets. And one of the tragic things about this is the liberal media, the liberal mainstream media looks the other way on Joe Biden, don't even want to report. You have whistleblowers. They spend more time attacking the whistleblowers that show the corruption within the Justice Department and with the investigation of Hunter Biden. And it's almost as like they don't care. They're focusing on Trump. They're trying to destroy Trump because they know they cannot control him. So you have the Republican leadership in Georgia. Many hardcore Republicans see them as Republicans in name only. You heard of Rhino. That's what it is. And so there's a rift between them and President Trump. And the rank and file Republicans support President Trump. That's why you also saw where the governor and the attorney general, both Republicans, they didn't come out during the election irregularities and take a stand that, wait a minute, we do need to look at this. They took the opposite against President Trump. And at the same time, when the local district attorney, Fannie Willis from Fulton County, engaged in the investigation, the attorney general should have said then, wait a minute, the state capitol has state police. Our state police will do the investigation, and the prosecution will be done by the attorney general. But because the attorney general and the governor are close, he allowed this district attorney just to come in, what many are saying that this district attorney doesn't have the authority on state property. It's not her jurisdiction, although it's in her county, but it's state property. If a law is violated on state property, the state police investigate it, and the state attorney general is the one who would prosecute. And they're completely out of this picture. They're silent. Well, a lot of Democrats would talk to me on the side, elected Democrats, that they don't like what's going on. But if they take a stand, the Democratic Party would run someone against them and fund them to unseat them. So they just want to hold on to their seats, and they're willing to compromise. They become targets if they say something different. We just had in the Georgia House of Representatives an African-American female who was supportive of school choice and some other Republican initiatives, and they just went at her, targeted her, attacked her, and finally she just had enough, and she changed parties about a month or so ago because she was just fed up. Now, her district is majority Democrat. She may lose, but at least I admire the fact that she said, you are not going to control me, and we have our children in failing public schools. Parents know what's best for their children. Let the money follow the child. Let the parents make the decision. If that means going to a private school and funding that child, so that school, which is a performing school, let the parent make that decision. But the Democrats are against school choice. The most important thing for Georgia in our country is to be able to uphold the Constitution. And the very first item in the Constitution is freedom of speech. And we're seeing now where if you oppose what the majority of the media, or if you oppose what the left doesn't like, they come at you. They try to suppress your voice, suppress your vote. And so my hope and my desire, just like the good people over in Japan, those freedom fighters, those who are standing up for free speech like yourself and with Japan CPAC, and understanding that, wait a minute, we're the people. We're over the government. The government is not over the people. And so that's why I applaud what you're doing, Jay. I applaud what you're doing. I applaud the message that you're sending around the world from Japan. I'm glad to see you in Australia. I'm glad you've been to America. And I say it all the time. You know, Australia may have gaps, Japan got gaps. America has gaps. But together, we have no gaps. We're stronger. And the very people back in Japan who just hunger for liberty, who hunger for free speech, who hunger for a government that does not attack them for their beliefs, that commitment, that spirit and tenacity of what you've gone through over the years and you're still standing. I just admire that, and that inspires me to work even harder for freedom of speech in America. Because let me tell you, America has been a shining light to many countries. And if we fail with free speech in America, it fails around the world. And we cannot allow that to happen in Japan. We can't allow that to happen in Australia or nowhere else. It's about the people, not the government. It's the people. Well, I want to say back home in Japan, having Jay to fight for you and fight for human rights and fight for your liberties, he's only one man. But it's each and every one of you stand up and stand with him. If each and every one of you stand up and stand with him. To the people back in Japan, I'm inspired by your tenacity and by your desire for rights for your people. And CPAC Japan is a great organization to get involved in and to be supportive. Everybody can lend a hand, Jay. And we're in America. We're pulling for you. We're pulling for people to have their basic human rights. And so one day I hope to visit Japan. I hope to come and see Jay. But in the meantime, our hearts and our prayers are with the people back home. And Jay, I just thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.